What's poppin', you guys? It's your girl SJ, and I'm here with my good homie.
Jeff.
And together we are the Popcorn Patrol podcast. This month we have some great movie selections for you this week, so we hope you'll stick around. Welcome back, guys. It's your girl SJ. And like I said, we have some great selections of movies for this month. We're doing Oscar nominated movies. We're going to kick it all off with Barbie. But first, I want to get the nominations from you, Jeff. What movies are nominated?
Well, there's a whole bunch of movies that are nominated for a whole ton of different categories, but our best picture category is uh, American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. So
Yeah,
we're
so I
not going
maybe
to be
heard
able to
like,
hit all of those between now and the Oscars, but we are going to try and hit a few of them, maybe the
and
bit
hey,
more popular ones.
we knocked off Oppenheimer, so we're good there.
Yeah, if you want our
We're
thoughts
not
on
doing that
that,
one again.
go check out Oppenheimer, one of our previous episodes.
Yes, please, 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 please. Okay, and so tell us a little bit about Barbie. We're doing Barbie this week. Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, Simu Liu, Issa Rae, Will Ferrell. There's a lot of big names in this movie. So tell us a little bit about it, Jeff. What do you got?
Well, for Oppenheimer, if you want to check it out, it's season 1, episode 16 on our channel. So you can check that out. For Barbie, it was released in 2023. It had a budget of $145 million. And to date, it's brought in $1.446 billion at the box office. Now, there's an
Wow.
asterisk there because it's being re-released in theaters right now for
Oh,
because of its Oscar season. So they're re-releasing it into theaters just to boost those numbers up a little bit. Probably there's a movie that is really close to that it wants to surpass. I know Disney did this before with Avatar. When Avengers Endgame broke Avatar's all-time totals, Disney re-released Avatar in theaters for a couple weeks just to get it to go back into number one. Kind of think
mhm.
it's a cheap, tacky move, but I'm a Marvel fan, so I'm biased.
Right, right.
So this was directed by Greta Gerwig. It was written by Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach. It stars Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, and a whole ton of other big name
Yeah,
actors. Too many to list.
absolutely.
And cameos galore, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot. Um, do you know who wrote the music for this movie, Jeff?
I know Lizzo did a couple of the songs. My daughter's a
Yep.
big fan, so we listen to the Barbie soundtrack a lot. Ryan Gosling, I know, sings the Just Ken song, and that's a fan favorite.
That's a
It's all
banger.
right. I don't know.
Yeah.
I hate that I like
Everyone,
it, I think.
everyone seems to like it.
Yeah.
So, um, you know, it's all right. What did your daughter, okay, without giving out too much before we get into everything, what did your daughter think about this movie?
So we went and seen it on opening night. And because my daughter, she's got it all. She's got the dream house, the van, the camper, the ambulance, 100 Barbies. She's got for Christmas, she got her very first Ken doll. She really wanted one. So my daughter's a big Barbie fan. She says to me 2 days after we watched this movie, Daddy, I think I liked the Mario movie better. Now, she's rewatched the movie a dozen times at home now, and she's back on the Barbie's the better movie.
It's grown on
Yeah,
her.
she really, really likes it.
You okay? All right. Well, with that, should we get into our popcorn paradise then?
Absolutely. Do you want to
All
start?
right. Sure. Um, Listen, I loved all the real life Barbie references in this movie. I saw some dolls that I actually owned. There's like a couple, there's like the rock and roll Barbie with the long blonde hair. I was like, I got her. Um, you know, there was a few of the other dolls that I saw that I recognized. And I like that. There was a lot of nostalgic nods for me in this movie
You
because a
mentioned this
lot of,
nostalgic nods. There was a scene where Ken is kicking Barbie out, and he's throwing her clothes out from the top of the second floor, third floor of the Barbie dream house, which is
Right,
now
right.
the Ken. uh
The Ken like hang out. I forget
yeah,
what they called it
it's
though.
some weird like dojo.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's basically Ken's house.
yeah.
Is basically what they call it. But he's throwing it out, and as he's throwing it out, the article of clothing spreads out, and it's kind
Oh
of like
yeah,
a
it
light
they show
advertisement
it.
for it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think Barbie's like, "Oh, this is the vintage collection," and he's like throwing it out, and it's all the like the '80s and '90s clothes, and it was
The
neat.
classic, right? The
Yeah.
classic outfits that you like remember from Barbie. Um, yeah, that brings me to my other point, my Popcorn Paradise. This movie is legit funny. I actually like found a lot of the jokes humorous, and I didn't know what to expect because like when I saw the previews, I wasn't interested in this movie at all. I was like, oh God, this is gonna be like a some kind of agenda movie, right? Um, but actually, I was surprised at how funny this movie was and how well written it was, in my personal opinion. Like the premise of the actual movie was very interesting, and I thought it was very like unique. I'd never seen that kind of thing really done before. I mean, obviously, it's not a real life or a drama or whatever. It's more of a fantasy type fun movie. So you take it for what it is. Um, did you have anything about that on that, Jeff?
It was definitely some laughs. Okay. I will say this was a fun movie. I
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I was entertained. It was fun. There was jokes that were funny. That's where I'll leave it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, Obviously, this movie is not based in reality, but it's still dealing with a lot, like some of the real world issues that, we're seeing, and that have been for a long time. Um, so I found that kind of interesting that they proposed it that way. Like it's just interesting that they did that. I guess that's Greta Gerwig and her writing, um, you know, and making Barbie more of an empowerment thing.
Just to touch on that as well, this movie um had this movie was beautiful. When you're in the Barbie dreamland,
You're
it
in the Barbie dreamland,
it's like the water is fake. It's like hard plastic. But it all looked great. Like
Mhm.
all the props, how she's pouring the milk out of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the
That was
container.
funny.
But the funny part of that is she's pouring the milk out of it. You don't see anything, but in her mind, milk is pouring out.
Right.
It's interesting. Like yeah, I
Yeah,
think
it's very
it was a joke
clever.
for
Like
it.
it's very cleverly done,
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that about this movie because like it takes you into that world and everything's plastic, everything's fantastic, made of plastic, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I enjoyed some of those moments for sure, which I didn't think that I was going to. So, like I said, this movie was legit funny sometimes. Like I laughed out loud, and I watched it with my husband, and he laughed out loud too because we were like, "Oh my God, like that's
This
ridiculous."
this movie, yeah, I gotta say, so this movie, I don't know who the target audience for this movie is because
That's okay.
it's not
We're gonna talk
this
about
isn't a
that.
prison for me. This is a paradise
Okay.
because I think it's almost geared towards anybody, and I think it's geared to uh nostalgic 30 to 50-year olds. It's geared to it's also kind of geared to kids a little bit. Like that it's a safe movie for kids to watch. The humor that's
Yeah.
in it is adult humor, but it's that kind of like hidden adult humor. But I also think that the dumb comedy part of it is geared to like me. And I'm not saying like I'm a huge fan of stupid comedy, but
Mm,
Ken, he's playing a typical Will Ferrell
dude.
uh person. Like that you
Yeah.
could like and Will Ferrell's in this movie and is his
Right.
whole character that he is in every movie that he
Yeah.
plays in. Um You know, maybe I'm convincing myself that this is a popcorn prison. I'm going down that road. I'll wait until
So I listen,
my
I'm
paradise.
agreeing with you on that one, but we'll get to that.
Sure.
Um, for Popcorn Paradise, yeah, I just think this movie was stunning too. Like just the way it looked. It was very vibrant. You know, they had that little side story with America Ferrera as she's the one who the Margot Robbie Barbie belongs to. And so I found that interesting. She wasn't like I didn't feel America Ferrer had a huge part in it, but it gave it like a little bit of story, I guess,
Yeah.
as to why Barbie was having like an existential crisis. You know what I mean?
I
No,
got another paradise.
you got more.
Yeah,
Okay,
I got
give
a
it.
paradise. It couldn't lead. It can lead right into the prison. I
Uh-huh.
thought the person that did the best job was Kate McKinnon as Weird Barbie.
Yeah, I
She
loved her.
was incredible. And I know
She's
that
hilarious.
this is a typecast role for her because it's more of an intelligent dumb comedy.
Right,
Like this
right.
is like that her acting in that was the kind of dumb comedy I like, where
Yeah,
it's intelligent comedy in a dumb way where like it's well written dumb comedy where like
yeah,
the Will Ferrell stuff or even in the Ryan Gosling stuff or the Steve Carell stuff, not that he's in this movie, but that kind of stuff isn't intelligent dumb
right,
comedy, it's just dumb comedy. And
right.
that's not what I don't like that. I like the intelligent dumb comedy, but
Yeah, no, her character was terrific. I, you know what? Even though she's like Will Ferrell, where she kind of plays like the same kind of characters, she, I don't know, I just something about her I find really funny and I enjoy watching her. I guess that's how some people feel about Will Ferrell. But
maybe it's just her
so
execution. Her
yeah,
execution is
I think it is her timing, her like
yeah,
comedic timing and her like
yeah.
the way she acts, you know. That that I agree with you in that for Popcorn Paradise,
That leads
100%.
into my first popcorn prison, if you're ready.
I'm ready.
So the this movie, I'm telling you,
Uh-oh.
we okay, so I was talking about Kate McKinnon being a paradise point for me and her acting. I
Yeah,
think that the actors that did get nominated for this movie don't deserve the nomination. I don't think the role that Ryan Gosling played, he's the one that got nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Uh,
yeah,
I I don't think that the quality of his don't get me wrong, there was some good parts. Like his Just Ken song was incredible. But
yeah,
for
it was
me,
good.
that
It
was
was
it. The
fun.
rest of it is like you could insert anybody into that role that
Right,
might have a six pack and some muscles,
right.
and could play that character. Um,
Did Margot Robbie get nominated? I forgot to check.
Not for an actress, no,
Actress? No,
nope.
and actually, I thought she was terrific. I thought she looked the part, she fit the part. Like
I
she's there a
didn't.
little older.
It's tough though for me because I didn't picture her as Barbie. Like when I'm watching her, this was to me, it was like that Cameron Diaz effect that we had in The Holiday, where I'm
Right.
watching her and the whole time it's just Margot Robbie. And for me, it wasn't believable that she was Barbie. And they even made a comment, what was it, the narrator? She said there was a time where Margot Robbie's crying and she's just like, I don't look extraordinary or I don't look like stereotypical Barbie. And then the audio
Right.
cuts out and the narrator's just like, well, the people that cast this character might should not have casted Margot Robbie for this role, to say this. And yeah, so I don't know.
Right.
Does she look the part? Sure, maybe, but I felt like her acting wasn't
Wasn't
desirable.
there.
Yeah, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I felt like she did an okay job. Not enough to win an Oscar, obviously, but I definitely feel like she did a good job. Like I thought she suited the role as Barbie. Like when I look at Margot Robbie, and maybe this is just because it's coming from a different viewpoint here. But when I look at her, I see quintessential white, blonde,
Yeah.
um, perfect little person that you would consider to look like a Barbie,
Hmm.
like growing up, you know. Um, the Barbie that I really liked was Issa Rae, the Black President Barbie. I thought she, I thought she was funny. I enjoyed that. Um, but yeah, anyways, so that's how I felt about that. I mean, to, let's get into our popcorn prison, I think, like more of it.
Sure.
Um,
What do
so
you got next?
my biggest pet peeve was actually that I didn't feel that this is a children's movie. I don't feel
Okay.
like this is directed for a children's movie. I feel like it deals with adult concepts and ideas, and it disguises it with bright colors and music to kind of like detract from that. But at the end of the day, I feel like this is a movie for adults, for specifically for my age group women who played with Barbies in the 80s and 90s. That's just how I feel about it. I feel like this was not a kids movie, and I feel like it could have been a kids movie. They could have tried harder if they were trying to hit all the audiences.
Hmm.
And specifically, I don't think this is a movie. They tried to put a Ken character in there and give him a good amount of time, screen time. And I think that was to appeal to, little boys or men or whatever, so that there's some humor there for them or someone they could relate to. Overall, this movie was fun. It was bright and colorful, lighthearted with some deeper conflicts and undertones. But yeah, not really kids movie for me. Jeff,
My prison plays off that a little bit too.
yeah,
I felt like this movie had a strong opening and it looked great. And then they went to the real world and it went off the rails there.
yeah.
Just completely went off the rails. You're right, there was some adult stuff in there that was not maybe meant for kids. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of people took their kids to this. I mean, I seen a
Yeah.
lot of kids dressed as Barbie in cosplay when
Well,
I went.
because when you look at it from the previews and stuff, you think, oh, this is Barbie. My
Mhm.
kids can go see this. It's a children's movie. It's
Yeah.
fun, it's colorful, there's music in it. But that's what I said. Like they disguised it, but it's really an adult movie with adult concepts,
Yep.
if I'm being honest with you. Yeah, you can take your kids to go see it. It's not going to hurt anything. But you have to understand that they're not maybe going to understand a lot of the concepts in there, depending on how young or old they are. Um,
It completely
yeah,
goes off the rails. And I think that, there's a monologue in there by America Ferrera that a lot of people are like, "Oh my gosh, this is great," and she even got, let's be honest, she got an Oscar nomination for that monologue.
mm,
And I look at that and I think there's a lot of that stuff there that applies to men as well.
right.
And you know, and and so for me, it was, I don't know. I think the movie sends the wrong message. It hammers down. The first part of the movie is uh, it's all focused on Barbie and how amazing women are, and that's great. I'm down.
Mhm.
Women are amazing.
Yep.
Do some crazy
Yeah.
stuff that is amazing. Um, and then the second half of the movie is just Ken being almost a um, satirical version of
Right.
what women think men are.
Right.
And they beat down the men for the second half of the movie. They tried to get the point across that no, it should be more like this. It shouldn't be men higher or women higher. It should be more like this. But then when the Barbies take over again,
Oh, yeah,
then
they're in court and they just overrule, like they make it so that no men show up and they overrule everything
right. And then when they're giving out different roles
except for
again,
Alan.
they give out a role to Kate McKinnon. They give
Oh, yeah,
the
weird Barbie.
sanitation role to her. But then one of the Kens was like, "Well, can we have a role?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, maybe you can be a judge or something." And yeah, so like it defeats the whole point that they were trying to make in that scene
Yeah.
where right off the top they're just beating down men again. I'm not saying this is a man-hating movie, and they spent a lot of
No,
the um no, it's close to a man-hating movie though.
well, and I think,
What do you expect
yeah,
though? It's Barbie, right?
right, it's Barbie for sure.
I just think that they
Uh,
could have made a better movie if they had have not done it this way. Instead of it being so controversial that way.
right. But
Now,
I
if
think
I yeah, go
sometimes
ahead.
I think sometimes they know that it's going to be controversial anyways, and so then they do try to push it a little further because people will go see it if it's controversial, right? For the most part, they'll be like, "What is this? I want to see this. Like, why is it so controversial?" And they'll go out and see it. So there's like this intrigue there. So it's like marketing too, right? Like you have to remember they have professional people that market these movies.
And
And
they
so
marketed the hell out of this movie.
if they did,
Yes, they
they did.
advertised and marketed the hell out of this movie. Every person knew this movie. Where, for example, when we reviewed the Marvels, you had no idea that that
No
movie was
one,
coming out. None, no
no,
idea.
I had
Yeah, I
no
suggested it, and
idea.
you're like, "Oh, what's that?" And they're like, "Oh, is that this?"
Yeah,
And it's like, "Yeah." You're like, "I had no idea that it was coming out." Where Barbie, everybody knew, a year in advance.
everyone. Hmm.
They knew the
Hmm.
date. They knew when it was coming. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
So should we give our, oh,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, right. Go right ahead.
are
Do you
you
want to go
ready?
first? I'm ready.
Okay, you go first. What you
All
got?
right. I can sum this movie up perfectly. In my opinion here, the Barbie movie is to people who played with Barbies as a kid.
Mhm.
The Barbie movie is to them what the Avengers is to comic book lovers. Is it a fun movie? Absolutely. Was the Avengers movie a fun movie? Absolutely. Are they good quality movies? Hmm, not too
Right.
sure. Not too sure if they're good quality movies.
So
Uh,
as a person who did both, who
yeah,
loved who loves comic books and who also loved playing with Barbies growing up, should I give my rating? You want me to
yeah,
give
sure.
it?
Go ahead.
I'm going to say this is a large popcorn
Okay. Wow.
because listen,
Impressive.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. Yeah, it had some things wrong with it and it didn't know who the audience was going to be. Um, but I enjoyed it. I got a good chuckle. I watched it. I mean, I would probably watch it again if it was on TV or something. It was good. It was good. It was a cute little movie. It wasn't, I don't think, do I think it's like worthy of an Oscar? Mm, maybe not. I don't feel that it technically was, but that's just me being a harsh critic. But I did enjoy the movie. Jeff, what do you got?
I am going with you know what? I had too much fun watching this movie to go with the small popcorn. Uh, I'm going with a medium.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. That's not bad.
yeah. You know what it is? I'm just Ken pushed that into a medium popcorn for me from a small popcorn. If it had continued off the first part,
Right.
then like if it had continued off in that direction, then it might have upgraded. But
Sure.
yeah.
Sure. I think it's that time, Jeff. It's that time. You know what time it is. It's the mom joke of the day time.
Ooh, party time.
Okay. So I couldn't believe the line at the cinema to see the new Barbie movie. It had the largest barbecue I've ever seen.
All right.
Anyways, guys, Jeff, tell the lovely people where they can find us.
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. You can also find us on most social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter,
Oh,
TikTok,
nine.
Instagram. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're all over the place. Uh,
perfect.
continue on with our road to the Oscars. We're doing Killers of the Flower Moon next.
Mhm.
Awesome. We'll look
Yep,
forward to that.
Killers of the Flower Moon. Um, we hope that you'll join us for all our Oscar watches this month. So thanks for staying tuned and
All right.
Patrol out. Peace.
Peace.